Hi, everyone, and welcome to this latest episode of Making Light to Humans Being. I am Julie here, as usual, accompanied accompanied by Kate Fogel. Thank you for the prepper.
English grammar is
well, Queen's English. We can't get it. We Americans, we mess with stuff. Anyway, today we're going to talk about, Kate's been on retreat. And she's just come back. And so we're going to hear about her retreat. And she was saying that from the retreat, there's this theme of self-love and self-hate and the duality that exists. We're playing with that word duality. So I'm just going to let Kate tell us what happened and kick us off.
Okay. So it's a Buddhist retreat center. And 5 years ago, I think, my beautiful friend, neighbor, and accomplished artist, DinaCampbell.com. We were sort of talking about life and she, blah, blah, blah. And she said she'd been on this retreat. And I was like, God, that just sounds amazing. This is me, who went on a boot camp, as in it was drop a dress size in a week. It was advertised. It's not advertised as that, but we had one of these sensationalist programs dressed up as health. Well, actually, it was quite interesting, but it was called Drop a Dress Size in a Week. And this woman had been on this boot camp. And I was like, right, that's it. That's for me. And that was for me, that was a holiday, because all I could think was a week where no one can touch me, like no phone calls, no mother, bless her, no husband, no cat, no chickens. I don't think I had the chickens actually then. And bless them, they don't really take up much, but there's still all these little responsibilities you have. And it was just like the idea of being somewhere out of touch was just amazing, even if it meant running around a fucking football field at 5 o'clock in the morning in the dark. This was January the 12th in Dumfries, which is in Highlands. I think the Highlands, close enough anyway. And it would be up in the dark and the pissing rain at like 5:30 in the morning. But obviously, when I made the decision to go, I didn't think about that. I just thought, a week away from everybody. Anyway, so when Dina had said she'd been on this retreat and it was up, and I didn't know then, it is Loch Royal, which is Loch Gilphead or something, which is about an hour, 20 minutes from me, but you're really out in the boonies out there, and it's just on the side of a loch. There's just one little single track road that goes for like 20 minutes along the loch, and then you've got this beautiful retreat center there. And just amazing. And so I actually looked up all the retreats and found a week retreat, painting and drawing, if it was. And I thought that'll do me, because all the rest was like yoga, tai chi, hill walking, meditation. I thought, what, do that for a week, do you? Whereas painting and drawing, nice, sounds like fun. I booked myself on it, bumped into Dina again. I was like, I got myself on a retreat. She's like, oh, all right, okay, I didn't realize you were that keen. She's like, so you're all right with the Buddhist thing, are you? I was like, what? I hadn't even realized it was Buddhist, but never mind, that's vegan. I suppose when I was 18, and I suppose I first started having thoughts about religion and what I believed and what I didn't believe, I probably dabbled a bit with Buddhism, as in, sounds very attractive, it's quite trendy and cool. It is now. Even then, I think you'd have to be a way out hippie to even consider it, which would have appealed to me tremendously. But just didn't really know much about it. Tried to meditate, I think, once or twice, but nothing happened. Can't at 18. Life's too short at 18, isn't it? You've got too much to do. So I went on the retreat, and I've been going every year since. And then it was cancelled last year because of COVID, and then this year. And actually, a couple of days before the retreat, my friend who, I know you're not supposed to go with someone, but these are people that go on it regularly, and she's like, she couldn't go because they wouldn't let her join on the Saturday. It starts on a Friday, and she was working, and she was a bit miffed about that, understandably, because it's literally like the next morning. It's not like we'd be halfway through the retreat and my friend would just show up, hello, I'm here. It was like literally the next morning, but they wouldn't let her come. Don't know if that was because of COVID or just their policy. And then I read all the restrictions about COVID, and I was like, do you know what? This doesn't sound like fun. There's no coffee machine, there's no mixing, there's wearing masks inside, there's only going to be 10 of us. And I just thought, and because I've lived pretty much unaffected by COVID, as in my everyday life. I get my stuff delivered, I still go swimming, and I haven't really had to deal with COVID. I threw a complete childish hissy fit about the whole thing, especially because we're like days away from the all clear. I was like, why do we have to do this? I have my fucking vaccinations, right? You told me to have my vaccination. Now you want me to test before I go on holiday, where I'm voluntarily with other people who have chosen to be away from home. These aren't vulnerable people. These are people who have chosen to take that risk. And I can't even sit and have a cup of coffee with them. It just made me really angry. But I got over that, and I went. So yeah, it was. It's a strange time, I think, for everyone. Have you ever been on a retreat?
Never. And well, not really. I mean, I went to see our teacher, Danielle McKinnon, at Omega Institute for a weekend, and that was amazing. But I do want to do, I haven't done anything like a week long, and I would like to. I'm looking for the right one. I'm hoping sometimes she does a retreat in Costa Rica with horses, and that's
that's the one. We've got to make this happen.
That's the one I really want to do.
Yeah.
Which for different reasons, which we can talk about later. But anyway, so no, I have not been, but so continue, sorry.
Well, the first time I went, I suppose I'd only just started delving into spirituality. I'd started meditating, so this would be just after my breakdown, I suppose, 6 months, and I recovered. And my sister got me to read Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, and it was just like, wow, this stuff's big.
Yeah.
So I was really keen. I was in a very serious place about practice, in the sense that I was taking what everybody said and really taking it on board, as in Eckhart Tolle and a lot of these spiritual teachers and Buddhists also as well, along the lines of no idle chit chat and stuff like that. And I'm quite conflicted about that. It's like, well, what, you're not allowed to have fun? Because I understand the danger of gossip, but idle chit chat's all right, isn't it? I mean, it's all about.
I've not heard him or Eckhart Tolle talk about
basically that stillness is to be valued above all else.
Yeah.
And the 4 agreements to be impeccable with your word, and that's the same thing. So it's basically no unnecessary chatter. And I know that they use chatter to mean a lot of things, not just chatter, but anyway, but the 4 agreements to be impeccable with your word. And a Buddhist, I think, I don't know the wording around it, but it's basically along like the 4 agreements about, is it necessary, is it kind, is it something else? But it's the same idea. It's like just discourage you from idle chit chat. That's how I understand it. Where was I going with this? So I was quite serious about all that, and I see now a pattern in my life. I just assume everyone knows more than me, and they don't necessarily. Because I remember saying to someone, "Now, well, I listen to podcasts when I'm gardening. Should I not be?" And they're like, "Do what the fuck you like." It's because I'm sort of thinking, "Oh, I'm new to all this. Everybody knows more than me." And I do still struggle with that, because I listen to podcasts when I'm with the chickens, or maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be more present with them. I don't know that it makes me less present. I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyway, that's a conversation for another time.
Depends on what you want to listen to. I mean, because if you're listening to something that makes you happy.
I listen to Abraham typically. Yeah, I listen to Abraham typically, or a podcast I listen to that makes me laugh.
That's raising your vibration.
Yeah, I read a woman who cured herself of cancer by watching Laurel and Hardy. Now, I don't think they're that funny, but I get the picture.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you go on anything this long, like the first time I went on it, I had the start and they talk about it. So they have Buddhist rituals, but there's nothing's forced upon you. And it's quite pleasant to join in. I mean, I'm afraid I see Buddhism the same as any other organized religion. I think the principles are great. But the very fact there's more than one faction means they don't all love each other, does it? that was there's different types of Buddhists. Like, what do you mean? Surely if you can't agree on that. But I certainly think the principles of Buddha are very worthy. But sort of day one, we'll go around the table and talk about ourselves. And then I remember him sort of saying, they're talking about the retreat and what happens, and everyone seemed to know what he meant, and I didn't. And I don't think anything did necessarily happen to me on that retreat, because I was probably in a very particular place, having just come out of a major breakdown. I was still very protective of myself and not really engaging, I think, in retrospect. But the second time I went, you know, day 4 or 5, I was suddenly enormously emotional. And I'm not really sure why, because you still have people, you're still talking, but I suppose there's no additional chitter chatter. So this is part of it. Like they used to put us in, they didn't this time, oddly enough, but normally we would go through, like they'd say after, right, we'll be silence until the morning, after evening meditation, it'd be silence until the morning, and then it'd be silence until after breakfast, and then it'd be silence until lunchtime. So it wasn't total silence, but there'd be long periods of silence, which actually I really enjoyed. It's actually really nice to be with people, and you don't have to make an effort, so you get the comfort of being with people, but there's no obligation to interact, and that's actually quite nice. So I don't know if it's just that, or the fact that you are not preoccupied with other stuff. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because it's not like you're not with people, you are with people. So you've got no television. I suppose some people might listen to music, I don't know, on headphones, I don't know. But you've no phone, you've no internet, you've no contact with the outside world, and I guess stuff comes up. So this time I didn't get a huge thing, shall we say, but I did think I have this friend, mindful of names, should have asked her actually, I'm sure I probably could name her, but I went for the sake of privacy, and actually maybe we should talk to her one day, because I think she'd make a fascinating person to talk to. So when I first met, let's call her Andrea, shall we? When I first met Andrea, she was in a wheelchair. I think it's ME she had, and she had a fibromyalgia, and that's the first time I realized that I probably had fibromyalgia rather. It's never been diagnosed, but certainly reading about it, absolutely all the symptoms I have and still have, although to a much smaller degree. But she was in a wheelchair. She was in a wheelchair the second time there. And then the next time she came, she was right as rain, unbelievable. Apparently it's a 5% recovery or something. So we went swimming every morning, naked, I shall say, on a theme of self-love, because the week before I went on retreat, I, as you know, I've been struggling with food, and I've put on weight, and I was like, I have to learn to love myself as I am, otherwise this is just going to be a struggle forever in my life. And actually it's never going to cease to be a struggle until I learn to accept myself as I am and make better choices around food, instead of making choices around food which are entirely based on I'm too fat, I hate myself, so which means I'm either starving myself or shoveling food in my gob because I can, because fuck this diet, fuck that diet. So unfortunately my default mode when I'm not on a diet is eating more than I should. So someone had suggested, I'd always thought about swimming naked because people talk about it, and I thought that's a good way to come to terms with yourself. So I've been talking to someone, he said, right, well, we're going Saturday, lot 50, do you want to come? It's some ridiculous hour in the morning when nobody's there. So I was like, right, you're on. And we went, and there was men there and everything, and I was so hung up on it to begin with, and then when I did it, it was absolutely fine. And we were all talking about that. It's like, if everybody was naked, we wouldn't have, you know, if you saw normal naked bodies, we would not be so hung up about how we look.
Right. Well, right.
Because they are all so different. I mean, I know in a women's changing room, I'll see a woman who I would typically be really intimidated by, who looks absolutely drop dead, perfectly, whatever. And then she'll take her clothes off, and I'll think, and I know this is a small-minded thing, but you know, and this is a small Kate speaking, I'd notice something about it and go, well, she ain't fucking perfect, is she? Now I know that's a horrible thing to say, but it's like when you see this image of perfection underneath. And the other thing is, all those women who we look at and think are just absolutely have everything perfect, they've all got their own hang-ups. They don't like their chin, they don't like their ears, they've got stretch marks, they've got this. But for someone who's so body conscious, to see that even bodies that look thin are not necessarily picture perfect is good, you know. And it's not because I want to find fault with people, but everybody is different, and bodies do not look, not even, you know, maybe like 12-14-year-olds that run along the beach topless in Spain possibly, but there's a handful of them. The rest of us do not have pert little titties and tiny little waists, and
Oh, and it's a moment in time, right? For everybody. And you also, in those moments when you see the, I'll say imperfections, I mean, some people would argue it's all perfect, right? But
yes,
when you see the true, if you will, you see yourself in that body as well.
And I just think that if we saw all these different bodies, we wouldn't have this idea, this obsession that you are somehow less than if you don't look like that.
Maybe that's where we're evolving to, now that you think about it, because we wear, if you think about when we really started to clothe ourselves, and you look at all the, you know, on when you look at like period dramas from England or the colonial United States, all the layers of clothing. And now as you look at how we're moving forward now, and we wear less and less clothing, maybe we're evolving to like get rid of clothing. I don't know.
Let's hope so. But the way, certainly the way I feel now about like less clothing is that suits people with the acceptable bodies, but for the rest of us, you know, it just makes us more and more vulnerable, having to wear shorts or strappy shirts when you're overweight. And
no, I see people that, I mean, I see people that just wear whatever they want to wear, whether or not
and I envy them.
In current, yeah, because they can just do, you can see they're just, they don't give a shit about, and that's great, like to be able to do that too.
And and if I'm totally honest, I am still striving to be there, because I'm not there yet. I still look at people with judgment in my eyes, and I know that, and I'm working on it, but it's not something you can just stop happening. That the only way you can do it, I think, is by exposing yourself more and more and more and more and more to body shapes and sizes that aren't, you know, so that, because, you know, I can trot out that, oh, everybody's beautiful, but there's still an awful lot of chitter chatter in here that goes, oh God, look at the fucking size of her arse. You know, mine's not that bad, is it? You know, and it's a nasty, nasty little voice, but it's there, and it's very quick.
But you're aware of it, right?
I am, and then I feel guilty afterwards because I'm a bit of a cow, you know.
Well, it's just like, but I guess, to give grace, right? You're aware of it more now than you were. So at least you're aware of it. So that's a step in the right, in the evolving direction. I don't want to say right, because there is no right, and there's, you know, in the grand scheme.
Well, my other friend, who again, I'm sure she'd be happy for me to mention her, but I should check first, and we'll call her Claudia, did a podcast, and I would love to share the link, so I will speak to her about it and name her. And on that was this body, what do you call them? And not anyway, pro body person. I forgot what it was called. But she said that the only way to stop those judgments is to stop them. Literally, stop them. Stop. Don't say them to yourself, to anybody, to ever. Just don't ever criticize. If you can't say someone's beautiful, say nothing. And that you just have to stop yourself. Every single thought, every single observation on yourself. And, you know, I do get it, but I forget. But I'm going to try really, really hard, because that actually comes back to exactly what I was going to talk to you about, which was what I'd come to while I was there. So anyway, so we went swimming every morning naked in the loch, and like I could look at, what did I say her name was? Was it Andrea?
Yeah, Andrea. Yeah.
You know, and I'd look at her and I'd go, you see, she's got such a beautiful body. You know, like she's not slim, but she has like big breasts and a tiny waist, a real Aphrodite. So in my admiring of her, there is still, and I don't look like that because I'm an apple, you know. So I look okay from here, and I've got nice thin ankles, and then I go like that in the middle. And you know, so even in observing other bodies and going, so she's not like a, you know, pin-up model shape, but God, she's really beautiful. But you're not, Kate, you know, because you're fat in all the wrong places. So a lot of awareness around that. and anyway, one of the things that she said was, I was talking about all the stuff we're doing, all the work we're doing, and all the things that have happened, because it's been a couple of years since I've seen her, and she was just saying, you're too much in your head, Kate. And I hear this over and over again. And when I asked how she had healed herself, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that I've done, but the key is like body work and meditating on the body, on parts of the body. So I'm going to do some sessions with her and stop trying to fix myself and actually stop trying to improve myself. So that's it. It's all over, Julie. There's no more improvement going on here. I'm going to do a couple of sessions with her. I gave her a soul lesson reading with her cat, and she was just like, she was just blown away by it, which made me feel really good, obviously. And she said, right, I'm going to give you a session, and then we'll take it from there, the stuff that she does. So I'm going to do that. And then she pointed me at this book, and I thought, because there is again a bit of me that goes, well, why am I taking Andrea's word for it? It's the same thing. It's like me going, oh, everybody knows more than me. It's like, well, actually, Kate, wouldn't hurt you to try something different, you know. So I'm going to try that. And she said this book, and it's like, it was called There's Nothing Wrong with You. That's right. I've read it.
That's
read
the
all of them.
book. Is There's Nothing Wrong with You?
Yeah. But I haven't read it because the book I've read, There Is Nothing Wrong with You, was So They Say There's Nothing Wrong with You. And that was written by a guy. And that's basically talking about doctors, you know, when you have any sort of chronic pain and they go, oh, well, everything works, there's nothing wrong with you. It's about that, which I read and understand, and actually I've never been to the doctor about any of my issues like that, probably because I knew that they wouldn't fucking do anything, and what's the point, waste of time. But this book was about, and I actually even saying the word self-hate, I find that's like I can say cunt, no problem. Self-hate to me feels like a horrible word. I mean, it's such a strong word, and this is part of this Body Beautiful lady. Am I rambling, Julie?
No, I'm just listening to see where you're going with all of this. It's fine.
I'm nearly there.
Okay.
But this Body Beautiful lady had said, you know, that when you stop criticizing people, when you hear criticism, it gives you that jar. And she says, like, her friends know now, just don't say stuff like that in front of her, because she will literally react, because her home, her family, her friends know that language does not happen, not ever, never, 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 about anyone ever. And that's what I'm going to get to. But it's interesting because this is what this word self-hate like jars me. And yet I think nothing of saying horrible things to myself. I don't think I'm aware that I say horrible things to myself. It's more in that, and I don't think it's a voice per se of that I have self-hate, but this constant battle of not being good enough is essentially self-hate. This constant, she calls it the beatings, that you're taking a daily beating because you didn't do this right, or you didn't do that right, you didn't quite get this right, you could have done it this way, you should have done it this way, you're not as good as everybody else, you're not as clever. Now, I'm not conscious of that language in my head, but all my actions point to I don't feel good enough. You know. So I have read this book, and I actually read it in a sitting, and I was blown away by it, the simplicity of it, because it is so simple. They always tell you that, don't they? And that is, and this what was interesting about this book, this is about self-hate, says that the language that we use with children in our society, it's no wonder, like, you don't have to have been brought up by psychopaths to end up with a serious issue of self-hate, because all our language is about, don't do this, you can't do this unless you do this first. How, you know, you're letting me down, you're disappointing me, your behavior is not, you know, you should be doing it this way, you can't be doing it, but it's for your own good that you do it this way. Like, every single piece of language that we use towards our children is somehow trying to control them and make them smaller, and, you know, bring them into line, and don't step out of line, and toe the line, and all of this. It's like all the language. I mean, she just wrote a whole page of them. You're like, I don't know anybody who hasn't had half of that page, if not 2/3 of that page, if not every single word on that page. At some point in their life, their parents or somebody has said all that stuff to them. It's like, is it any wonder that you end up as a child going, well, I don't know what I did wrong, but obviously there's something wrong with me, because otherwise why would you speak to me like that? That's a really shocking thing, isn't it? So in summary, my mission at the moment is to stop the beatings. Because she said, just imagine, she says, we stop the beatings for just a day, and I promise you, if you become aware, because a lot of people don't, because, and this is my issue around food especially, if I don't control it, then I will go crazy and the world will end. Like if I don't stop myself doing these things, then somehow I will have no control, because this is how I've been brought up to believe that stepping outside the structures that I've built for myself, that I can't be trusted basically, and I will just go crazy, apeshit mental, and it's possible I will. We'll see. And that's what she says. We'll just try it, and if it doesn't work, you can beat yourself up twice as hard the next day. That's fine, but just try it for a day.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what that looks like for me, because as I say, I'm not consciously aware of bad, negative self-talk, but I am aware that all my behaviors are around somehow not being good enough. So that's what I learned. How was your week?
My week was interesting. So we're in like as we're talking here in the second week of August. And I'm only saying that because of some points in time that we should probably reference. So I will just say we've had a very close friend for you and a classmate friend for me pass away. She was very close to her. She passed away 2 weeks ago. And what was interesting was the first several days, when I learned from you that she passed, and from then on, I could hear her laughing or talking to me, or anytime I would start to cry. And many of us in our group of colleagues, classmates, if you will.
They're all psychics, we should say.
Say what?
They are all psychic.
Oh, we're all psychic, yes. We're
Yeah.
psychic. Animal communication, intuitive coaching community, yeah. We would hear her anytime any of us would start to cry. We would hear her and start to laugh, because she'd say something that we would get and start to laugh. It even happened last night on Facebook. We have another classmate that has a bit of a tough time coming up, and I got this, you need to tell Heather this, and I posted it, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't offend anybody. And then of course it was
You said badass, and that is exactly the words that A, the lady in question would have said, and B, the lady who died. Those are, because those I remember. I'm sure the lady who posted that, I'm sure the way she introduced herself to us was that she was a badass. So as soon as you wrote that, I was like, yeah, absolutely.
And I just was like, that is not a word I would use. It's not a word I use for a lot of reasons, which we don't. Anyway, and it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's not a thing. Anyway, but so she's passed, right? So the days after that, she kept making me laugh. And then Monday hit. So what, 5 or 6 days after she passed, and then Monday hit. And that was the first Monday in August. And I woke up that morning and I could feel my energy was lower. You and I are going through a class right now where we're getting our certification in intuitive coaching. And I had a client session that morning for that course. And I could just feel I was having a harder time bringing my vibration up. And there's a reason for that, which we can go into, but which I've learned since. Anyway, the next day though was even lower. And I had an animal communication reading with a client, someone I had never met before. And 10 minutes in, I had to stop it because I couldn't connect. I couldn't hear. It was really, and Maria was right there going, you got this. And I'm like, I need to rest. And since then,
was it a difficult client, or was it all you?
No, it was all me. She was lovely. Since we rescheduled, and I actually had it Monday, and it was, I believe I pleased the client. I mean, I felt like I got really good feedback the whole time. So I believe in, anyway, she thought it was really helpful. So I thought what was interesting was just going through the grief and how it impacted me, and how it brought up for me not worthy. So when we talk about self-love, self-hate, like I needed to make sure, first of all, from a self-love perspective, that I actually took the time I needed and took that step back and just sat with the grief and sat with how it felt. but to get there, I had to go through some self-hate, if you will, like this. I thought this idea of not worthy. When my animal communication session just fell apart, I called another classmate of ours that I'm close with, and we just kind of did a little bit of an exploration. And because I wasn't as close to our friend as you are, at least I don't feel like I mean, clearly, because you would talk to her many, many times a day. And that's not, anyway, doesn't matter, just different relationships, right? I didn't feel worthy of having the grief. So I went through all of this as well. And it's just, and I had to keep reminding myself of that analogy that I use of everybody has a different piece of pie. I just had a different piece of pie, but they're all valid together.
You must have seen it on the memorial. I mean, there's people that have spent 20 minutes. I think we should name her.
Our friend that passed away, you mean? Or we can name her. I just didn't want to name other people. So yeah.
So yeah, Maria, it was on Maria. Sorry. I think, it's silly, isn't it? Because there was people on that memorial that were saying, oh, I only knew her for 20 minutes, and they were broken hearted, and people had never met her but just seen her on video, because there was our class, animal communication class, was, I don't know if we were the first ones on the video course, I don't know, but basically they'd recorded our class, so the people that were doing the video online only courses would see. I remember Maria and I realizing that, we knew it was being recorded, but we didn't really think.
Yeah.
And then there'd be people going, oh, we know you, we've seen you, we're like rock stars. Like, God, if I'd known that, I'd have fucking paid more attention to my hair. It's like, but there's this hierarchy. It was like one of my clients is a friend of Maria's, and she was the one that told me what had happened. And then, I felt awful. But I'm like, I'm not worthy because I've only known Maria for 18 months. They've known her for 30, 40 years. And it's stupid, isn't it? As you say, I spent as much time with her. I spent more time with her through lockdown than I did with my husband, because we would speak all the time. And I've never had a relationship that close with somebody ever, I don't think. I mean, I realize a lot of it's circumstantial because of lockdown and because we were doing all these courses. But then I think, well, do I have the right to grieve? I'm not her best friend from school. I've never met her, never seen her as a person. Yeah. So I think everybody feels like that, Julie. And I felt uncomfortable that people were tiptoeing around me. There's a lot of people, it was lovely. I got a lot of people saying, are you all right, Kate? Because they knew that we were really close. But also people. I think it was Hella, somebody else who said, that she'd posted about her being ill and, hoped that she hadn't been stepping on my toes by doing that. And I was like, everybody had a relationship. We all have relationships with people. Yeah. And what is gobsmacking to me is in Maria's case, oh my God, how many people did she touch? Unbelievable. Yeah. I don't think I know of anybody who isn't a celebrity who could possibly have touched so many hearts. Do you?
No, however, I will say all of us actually, because that's one of the teachings that she's been whispering in my ear is we all touch everybody. So, and the way to do it, let your light shine. Like I'm going through this live every day in August Lita video challenge that you've done before. I'm doing it now, and it's every day you have to do a live stream video. At least for right now, we're on day 11, and you have to really be honest with yourself and with the people that are watching, but with yourself. And it's teaching me a lot about where is to shine my light, like to express myself, to talk to, but I have heard Maria several times saying, no, just say it. And if nobody likes it, nobody likes it, but just say it. And that's what she was really good at. She just said what she wanted to say. Mm-hmm. She came at it from a place of love, and she came at it from a place of love. I always felt, I think that was my experience. So, but anyway, yeah. So I guess, so there was that happened while you were gone. And then also this, I don't know if anybody's into astrology, and I'm learning much more about it right now, but the Lion's Gate has come upon us, has been upon us, and it like really hit into what full stride a couple days ago.
Did you not get Matt Kahn's activation?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do it. I did it. I was like, I have no idea what this is, but I did it.
I read it, and then I read it again, and then I'm like, and then I let it be. But I
just read it aloud, and then I sent it to my sister. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it feels important. Just do it. She's like, right, fine, do it.
Yeah. So the Lion's Gate is when the moon goes into Virgo. It happens every year at the same time. This year was more important for some reason than others, I think, or more emphasis, or maybe I'm just.
It said it was something 8 out of 8, wasn't it? Lion's Gate 1 out of 8, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's all that, and it's a time of like anything that has things that no longer serve you. There's like bigger releases of it, and it's also an opportunity to move into your own. I think that's how I'm understanding it. So many of the people I follow, like Lee Harris, I also follow Lee Harris. His affirmation is, I allow myself to release all that no longer serves me. To think, I say it every day. And then Matt Kahn is another person we follow, and he sent out a activation to say,
very long activation.
Yeah, very long. And that's why I read it first. The first time, oh, okay, now I gotta say this out loud. So I did all that. But it's interesting what's been taking place. And it's interesting to me that Maria's passing coincides with the Lion's Gate. I find that it's not a coincidence, right? Because there's no such thing. I find that.
Oh shit! Why?
Hello. Why?
Yeah.
Well, release.
Why is it significant that it coincided?
Well, I believe because she is such a, for our community in particular. Yes. I mean, many others, right? But for our community in particular, she's such a force. Clearly, she's such a force. She remains such a force. And so, and I think it came up in the memorial and I know with animals too, sometimes they can help much more on the other side than they can help right here. And it was time for her to, right? So if we're looking at all that no longer serves us, I mean, she had been ill for quite some time. Her body, all that stuff no longer served her. She had other things to do. She has more work to do. She's like, right now, she's like, oh, I got a shit ton of work to do.
Well, good, because I have plans, Maria. So, you know.
she's like, buckle up, buttercup, here we go. Anyway, so it's just fascinating to me when you take a step back. I'm very much about synchronicity. I'm very much about, oh, look, and there's no such thing as coincidences. I find it fascinating that of all the times of the year, of any time, that is when she chose to pass, to open up. I know for me, to help me open up more of this self-expression, all the things, the intuitiveness, everything. So I'm so incredibly grateful for her. I've come to a very different place as far as how, like, that's not worthy of grieving. I've come to a very different place. Yeah, and also because of the Lita thing too. Like I can hear her half the time in my, say this, because I'll have it not scripted, but I'll have like an outline out the window, and they and my guides too. I just feel like taking her as well.
She was so popular when we did it, Maria, on Lita. She was just so popular.
I hear.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, everybody's talking about her. Everybody. Luria, the woman that runs Lita, everybody's talking about Maria. It's wonderful.
I think as well, because I think, oh my God, like we only had her for like 18 months, and I thought that's why, isn't it? Because what was the clock? So a cat scratching, and then the clock went off. I think that this was all part of her plan, was to get embroiled in our community, to be so widely loved and accepted, and now each and every one of us, whoever doubts our psychic thing, can go, that's right, Maria's there. It's like, I know Maria's there, because like you, I can hear her. I can hear the tone of voice. I can hear the joke. And she was just the funniest person I know. I mean, I would take funnier over most things, including kindness, and she had everything. Yeah. But, she was so quick and funny. And every time if I think of it, it's the same as you, as soon as I start to to feel sorry, I'll just get some like really sharp comment in my ear that will just make me laugh. And that's it. I mean, you couldn't have a more accessible guide. So, you know, I just think for so many people, it's just going to be such a boost.
I completely agree, which is interesting as well, because this decade, like we've entered the age of Aquarius. And so this decade is supposed to be even more opening up, even more. There's a gentleman I follow, named Matthew Fox, and he has studied the Christian, particularly the Christian mystics. I believe he studied others too, but right now he's talking a lot about the Christian mystics. But this whole movement of the human race, or the human species, moving from adolescence to adulthood. We got the climate change report this week from the UN, and we're not looking. I mean, we knew we weren't good. We really are not looking good. And it's like all hands on deck kind of a warning that came this week from them. And so he's talking about that. He's talking about climate change in relation to what the mystics have always said for centuries and centuries. And so as we move through this next time period of like faster evolution and growth from a spiritual, intuitive, light worker, whatever you want to call it, and everything, it's just fascinating to me that she was also here to sprinkle her fairy dust, that she would say, a little bit of fairy dust, right? Or pixie dust, she would say. She sprinkle a little pixie dust so that we can accelerate. I feel as part of it too. That actually came from her too. That wasn't me. So that, I don't know. That's just how it feels. I'm just excited. But I have been tired again. As of yesterday, I was really tired again. So I can feel like things are just shifting. I learned something, and then I have to just kind of progress and be.
I feel a bit like that. I just don't want to. I'm sort of it's the first time I've ever like just done painting instead of something practical that I should be doing. Yeah, I'm trying to just trust it. The farmers stopped giving me firewood, things like that. I've got these practical problems to solve that feel in a way insurmountable. It should be trivial, but it's just not, because it's just all about firewood. Apparently, I don't know if it's COVID or Brexit or lockdown. I think it's lockdown, because everybody's got fires at home. Everyone's at home basically.
Are you back in lockdown? No, you are?
No, but we're not out yet.
Oh.
But it's just really the person I want to provide our firewood, because I need someone who's got a crane who can put it not taking new customers, stuff like that, and it just feels impenetrable at the moment. So there's part of me that's going, just leave it, Kate, just wait, it'll just, and I've never been able to do that before. It's just wait, we're on it, it'll happen.
I've had that too, where I have my example is I have prescriptions that I had in Alaska, and I'm trying to transfer them to a pharmacy here. Because my doctor is actually a physician's assistant, they won't, in Michigan state law, won't accept the prescriptions. Well, I can't get into a doctor here because of all the things until I have appointments, had them set up in May, but not till October. I'm running out of these drugs. And my doctor, physicians, whatever, she's gave me some alternative pharmacies. So we're trying to work through those right now. And I'm almost out, and they have questions for her. And so they're working through questions. And I'm just like, my guides are like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Trust. So I did make one phone call, and they were like, nope, we're working on it. Okay.
Well, that's it. Cause this is it. We're so driven to do. And if we're not doing, we feel, and this was all part of this self-hate book, is that because basically not getting it right, the reaction in our society is it's not working out for you because you're not trying hard enough, you're not doing enough, you're not working hard enough, you're not all of this. So there's a very subtle point which I need to read again, but it's about we beat ourselves up because we believe that by being punished we are somehow being better. There is this intrinsic association we make with if somehow, I see it as suffering, but it's almost like if I am being punished, somehow I am paid my dues and will be forgiven for whatever it is I've done wrong. And that then becomes a need to suffer, a need to punish. And that's how this cycle starts. And it's like, stop the beatings.
Yeah.
Just stop them. And even when I say that, I like hear this deafening silence. Like, just imagine that I didn't ever look at myself and go, oh God, look at your fucking thighs, Kate. Did you have to eat that other piece of meringue cake? You know,
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I'm excited by it. And I am actually going to name these people. I'm going to talk to my friend, because there's some, for anyone that's been down this rocky road, I need to look them out again. She's got a Body Beautiful, I can't remember the name of her.
So when you
But
contact her then and get her permission, then you can just add it to the show notes. So when people are watching.
yes, and the thing is, I could anyway, because that is her job. Like, it's not like she does this in a part-time. But I was thinking of my lady friend who does podcasts. I'd actually like to properly promote her rather than just mention her casually, because she does these amazing podcasts. Mm-hmm. So I will I'll just check with her that it's okay to promote, and we can talk about it another time.
There was something that you said that I think I just want to put out there as a topic. We should talk about it. What?
I brought back this lovely piece of moss from the retreat, and Sally's just like that and shook it all over the place. This is
I don't need that. No, that's lichen. I love it.
Lichen, sorry, not moss.
Serious? No. Yeah. It's a thing. It's in. Never mind. That's another story. It's Alaska type. I was going to say, first of all, the self-hatred, self-talk is very similar, because I'm going through A Course in Miracles, and I'm studying also this stuff with Matthew Fox with the mystics and whatnot. But this self-flagellation, like I'm thinking of the cat o' nine tails that, particularly Catholics would do to bring about suffering. So isn't that interesting that happens? So there's that. Then I just want to say another topic that I think we could look at, because one thing I've been working on too, this last week that's come up in conversations with my guide, is this idea of being passive for me, where I allow, thinking, going with the flow, but I'm actually passive. And so there's a difference between passive and trusting. Like, we trust our guides. That doesn't mean we're passive, but I can allow it to be passive, and like, all right, and well, whatever.
So is passive good or not?
There's a good part and there's a bad part, right? Yin and yang. There's duality, self-love and self-hate, and passivity. But I think that was a topic. It might, as you were talking, that I thought that came up in mind. That's why you see me like take a note, because I'm like, oh, passivity. But then there's a trust thing on the duality of that. So just a thought for another day. So, but
yeah. So my big takeaway from all this self-love is actually, I'm just going to do the shed, carry on with these courses, but actually I don't need to consciously build a business. I can do it when it's fun. And I think it will become fun when everything else calms down, and everything else is not going to calm down until I calm down. And the only way I can calm down is going, okay, so the shed's your day job. Do your day job. Do the rest for pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything else. I'm making a living. Had a lovely chat with my guest today. Really interesting. And I was just like, I do enjoy this. When I take the pressure off, and I stop trying to be more productive. And then I paint pictures.
Yeah. Oh, you're like accepting things. I love this.
Yes, I do too. And I've had such fun.
I think that's really cool. I actually like your version better of the painting than the one.
Well, I haven't finished yet. But I knock that up in and out, and it's great when you're listening to other people's. It's a good. I found that when before lockdown, it was years ago actually, I think I talked about this in one of our things where they shut the bridge here, and I suddenly had to work from home for 4 weeks, which was just, oh my God, never happened before. And oh God, see, mid-afternoon, and I'd start having we'd have our like team meetings and stuff like that. It was always about customers. And I'm an engineer, I didn't give a shit about customers. Who cares about customers? I'm sorry, marketing person, but that's your problem. It's like, just leave me alone. I'll just build something. You just tell me what you need and we'll just get on with it. And get out of my face. I've been listening to these and I could not stay awake if I was at my desk. So I used to get up and do the laundry, or like listen to it on my phone and I was just amazing, because if I'm busy with my hands, I'm listening.
Yes.
If I'm sitting at my desk, I start, before you know it, I've answered emails and I've completely lost it. I have no idea. And they go, so Kate, what do you think? And I'm like, no idea. You could have been talking about Star Wars. I was not listening because you're so dull. I couldn't give a shit. But if you're doing your laundry,
Yeah.
I do hope my ex-boss isn't listening to this.
Yeah. Send him the link. Yeah. No, I have the same thing. If I'm baking, I love to listen to podcasts or books on tape, nonfiction books on tape, because then I will listen to them when I'm baking or gardening, which I haven't done gardening here, but that's okay. But I've been baking. So, yeah.
See, that was another thing I was thinking. If I stop worrying about building my business and just get on with the shed, I can start planning my garden. We've put an amazing garden here, but it's just nothing I want. But like the layout and everything, I could, I need to get started on that. I love gardening. I'm shit at it, but I love it. And it's such fun with the chickens because they're just like, you have to be really careful not to put a spade through them because they're just like right at your feet all the time. But it's just so much fun when we all sit out there and they're coming along going, worms, anyone? Has anyone got any worms?
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Connection to nature. That's what we're missing too. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. It's good to be back. I know that there's been no gap in our recording, but actually Julie and I have had a couple of weeks off last week because I was away, and a week before that because we were talking about Maria. But it's good to be back, Julie, and lots of exciting topics. And we actually need to, you've got a note of yours. I've still got a list from last time. I think every time we do this, we generate more and more things.
Of course.
So if you have any comments or anything in particular that you would like us to talk about, do let us know. You can find us on Facebook at makinglight.co.uk, and follow us on YouTube to subscribe to our channel. But please do give us any comments, anything that you would like us to address, or just anything, whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you from me and from Julie Hurt, and we are making light.